Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Rich, and I'm a customer success manager at ZeroLight's. For those of you unfamiliar with ZeroLight's, we are a visualization specialist. We're based in the United Kingdom, and we have a long and varied, rich history of working with the automotive sector. Um, we've produced vehicle configurators in the past. We've produced AR solutions, VR solutions, Cloud XR solutions, and we also have a CGI content production platform that's used by many OEMs today. So that's who we are. You guys, I'm assuming, are all hungry for content. And if you are, you're definitely in the right place. So welcome to the first of our webinar series, Hungry for Content. In this series, we're going to show you the CGI production platform I mentioned, Spotlight. We're going to show you how you can have creative control over your assets. You can determine a look and feel. You can then save that for other users to use. You can personalize content with the platform, so you can create content for a customer's specific car, the specific configuration that they're looking at or that they purchased. And we're also going to look at ways that you can automate content creation. So once you've defined that look and feel, we can drop it into various points along the customer journey and it can be automated. For today's session, though, for the first webinar, we are going to give you a basic overview of the platform. Okay, so I'm going to speak for a little bit, trying to explain what this great tool is and what it does. I'm going to follow that with a technical demonstration. This tool is used by many OEMs and by many agencies around the world daily. So I want to show you how it works, how this solution works. But first, if this is a solution, what is the problem that this solution helps a customer with? So if we take Dentsu as a source, they're saying that marketers see visual content generation as a significant challenge, and that's 84%. And we want to help marketers overcome this challenge with the platform. This platform allows easy content generation using approved assets, which helps maintain consistency across various touch points in the customer journey. Another quote again from Dentsu. Many of you are unable to create enough visual content to meet demand. These webinars will show you how content creation can be automated. Okay, it's 2023. Most of the functions in our house can be automated. ChatGPT makes pretty much any response possible to automate. So there's no reason that your content creation cannot be automated as well, helping you to not only meet but also exceed those demands. And finally, a high percentage of you find it difficult to meet your objectives due to a lack of content. Again, we want to help. We want you to be able to delight and surprise your customers with personalized content, not just to meet those objectives. So hopefully that gives you an idea of some of the problems that this platform can solve. But what is the platform? So in this session today, I'm going to show you what it is, how it works, and more importantly, hopefully illustrate how it can help you and your teams. I'm going to talk a lot about defining a style, saving it. I'm going to talk about requesting APIs. I'm going to talk about personalization and automation. However, I would be very happy if today you just leave this webinar just knowing three things: that basically content creation can be easily generated. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be done easily. It can be done quickly as well. This platform can help improve the speed of delivery. And thirdly, it will reduce your costs, okay? And that's both time and money. We can reduce the cost with this platform. So I mentioned we do work with the automotive sector. We work with various OEMs. So at the moment, across our range of products, these are the OEMs that we're working with. And on their behalf, we have many agencies using our platform as well. So on a daily basis, we have users from these agencies and more coming on using our products to produce content on the Spotlight suite. So what is the Spotlight suite? So Spotlight Suite is a cloud-based CGI content production platform, okay? But what does that even mean? The fact that it's cloud-based means that basically all of the assets that an OEM wants to create content with, they're all stored in one central location, and that's in the cloud. So users are all accessing the exact same assets, okay? So it's great in terms of scalability, but also security. It means that users are no longer having to download certain pieces of software or be reliant on certain pieces of hardware. It means when a new model is available or an OEM needs to make updates to a model, that can be done, it can be saved on the cloud, and it's instantly available to all users around the globe. So great in terms of security, great in terms of scalability. The platform also uses a range of different applications. So if you want to create still images, you use one application. If you want to use video, you use another application. And the platform can be used in one of two ways. Okay, so if we look at the image at the bottom left-hand corner, what you're actually seeing here is what we would refer to as the front end. You're accessing the UI. What this means is a user has gone to their browser, so you've gone to Google or whichever browser, you've entered a URL, you've come to our landing page, you've entered your username and password, and then you basically see what is on screen here, depending on which OEM you're working with. And you can choose a vehicle, you can choose an environment, and you can use elements within the UI, camera controls, post-processing, render effects, to basically create a piece of content that you want to download. And that is the platform at the front end. And there are hundreds and hundreds of users using that currently on a daily basis. The platform also comes with another way of using it, I guess. It comes with an API. So for those who aren't familiar, API stands for Application Programming Interface. And basically this means an API is a way that one application or one system can talk to another. So quite simply, if your website wants to speak to the Spotlight platform to request content, that is totally possible. Agencies and your developers can totally make that happen. And that's when we start to see the benefits of automation and scale. But if we dial back and look at that front-end access, what does that mean? So a user has an account created, they want to create an image, for example. What do? Well, they log in, they choose their application. So if they're going to create an image, they use the Shutter application, which helps you create still images. They choose their model or their vehicle. They choose the environment they want to place that model in. And then they can control lighting, they can control the camera, but then they basically render content. And that's the kind of front-end access, quite simply. I'm going to show you some live demonstrations now, but before we do, let's look at some of the content that can be created. So using the platform, and this is just from VW as an example. I personally work on the VW account. And here are examples of content that users have made for social media, for website content, all through this platform. So before we do move on, I would like to ask yourselves a question, if I may. So in this webinar series, we're talking about creating content, but we would love to know what types of content you're most interested in exploring, you and your teams. So you should see a poll appear on your screen at the moment. If you could, please just click on whichever type of content is most interesting to you and submit the vote. If you look at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, you should see an icon saying polls. If you click on that, we can see what people are saying. So a lot of people interested in AR models currently. Videos and images still interesting. Okay, that's good to see. So the good news is, in this session today, we're going to take a look at all three. So I'm going to give some quick demonstrations on how you can use this platform to produce all three. But using this feedback, we'll look at what we include in future webinars in this series. Okay, so I'm going to move on to some live demonstrations now. So we'll take still images as a starting point. So I'm going to use the Shutter Pro app. Okay, let's have an example use case. So say I'm working for an agency and I'm going to create a beauty shot that I want to use in a social media campaign, and I want to attract a professional with a young family, for example. I'm going to show you how to use an application, Shutter. I'm going to show you how to use some of the features and tools within there, just 2 or 3 of them, to create something that starts to look quite engaging. Okay. I'm a customer success manager. I'm not a digital artist, but hopefully I can show you that with just a few settings, we can start to create something that looks quite attractive. I'm also going to show you how you can then save those steps so you don't need to repeat them every time and time again, and other users can use them. And then we'll talk about how they can be requested via an API. Okay, so we'll move into the demonstration now. So what you're seeing here is the tool. This is the front end of the platform. I've logged in, I've chosen my vehicle, I'm in this white studio environment. I have different elements available to me, so I can control the camera. Different configurations that are available within the model I've already preloaded. So I've got different paint colors, different rims, different specifications for different markets. So for the Spanish market, the US market, for example, and this is all saved here. So for this purpose, I'm just going to use this white model, but I'm going to put it in a real world environment, I think. So we'll scroll through the environments we have available here. And obviously the beauty here is trying to set up a shoot in the real world is obviously quite costly. So I can just drop this car into New York, for example. And what you're seeing now is a digital twin of the car. This is a digital model of the car, and it's in a CGI environment. So everything is CGI here. I'm moving the camera around the car to try and find an angle. But again, my brief was actually to attract a professional with maybe a young family. So maybe let's look at something slightly more family friendly than a kind of urban environment. Let's look at this park environment instead. Okay, so I've got my model, I've got my environment, and now I'm just going to use the camera to try and find a position that I'm happy with. Let's explore this environment slightly. I like that bit of lighting on the side of the car, and the reflections there are looking interesting. So I might use this angle, use my camera controls to finesse the camera position a little bit. So I'm going to move the camera in. I can use field of view. I can use pivoting the camera. I can move the camera backwards and forwards, but just to frame that car a little more centrally. Okay. And now to make it more interesting, I'm going to add some render effects. So I can adjust the lighting on the exterior, the interior, or the wheels of the car, and the shadow settings and reflection. All I'm going to do is add a slight change to the lighting, I think just on this wheel here. I just want to be able to see the tire, the tread on the tire, just slightly more. So I'm just going to add a tiny bit more lighting there. Again, it's just small changes I'm making. If I wanted to make the car look like it's moving, I can activate motion blur. This is just an example. There are many options here in this application. I won't go through them all, but here I can make the car look like it's moving and manipulate several different settings. But I'm not going to use that for this shot. I'm just going to add some ray tracing instead. So I'm just going to play with the reflections slightly. I want to add some ray traced reflections, which I've just added there, and maybe some ray traced shadows as well. Again, small changes, but altogether, I think that's starting to create quite an interesting image. And I think the last touch I'm going to do is we can add animations to models. So we can open the doors, we can open the trunk. In this case, I think I'm just going to add the night lights. And I'm quite happy with that image. Again, not a digital artist, but I've used about 3 options there in the UI to create something a little bit interesting. I can render out at different image sizes at different resolutions. I can go right up to 16K if I was going to create like a billboard or a poster. I can customize it as well. So if I wanted to create like a banner for a dealership, I can customize that there. But for now, I think I'll just go with the 1080p and choose my image format. So we have JPEG, we have PNGs, we have PSD files. So if you do further work in in Photoshop, for example, that's great. But I'm just going to go with a trusty JPEG. And I send that to render. That job is now rendering in the cloud. So I've added these settings and I've requested an image of the white car. If I have all the variations of the model, so all of the different paint colors, for example, saved in a spreadsheet, I can drag and drop that in. And it could be 6 options, it could be 600. But here I've got 6 different paints. I'm dragging that into the tool and adding it to my order. And basically what I'm asking the platform to do is please create this image with all of these settings, but create it for every paint color that I'm giving you. And basically, it's just a way of streamlining process. So if you have a certain shot that you want, but you want to do it for every variation, it's quite easy to do. So I can see that my orders are processing here. So we'll have a quick look in my order history. So this is what it would look like for an end user. Here's the shot that I've just composed. I can preview it. And if I'm happy with that shot, I can now download that and go straight on social media with it. But let's have a look at that second option that I did as well, where I've added in that spreadsheet, asking the platform to render it for these different paint variations. And here I've got 6 images. They look the same setup, but I've got different paints included in all of them. And again, my point is this is just 6 paints, but it could be 600. It could be different rims. It could be every configuration available for this vehicle. But that's one way of doing it via the front end. So what I've just shown you there is logging in, using a few different options to create a look and feel that I was happy with. But if I want to come back and use those settings maybe for a different configuration or a different model even, I might not want to go through all those steps each time. So what I can do is I can save those settings, basically what we would call a camera. You save it as a camera, and I can save one camera or I can save multiple. And I can save like a pack of different cameras, which means myself or members of my team can come in and create images even quicker than I just showed you. So I'm just going to move into another part of the demonstration here where I've created a pack of images or cameras. So these are cameras I've already created and are saved here. Okay. I can still change the configuration. So I can change the paint color. I can change to different rims. Whatever I like, essentially, and these images will still work across all of those. I can review the shots just to make sure that they work okay, kind of happy with those. And as you'll see there, I've got lots of different packs, but I can render that. And with that one click or 2 clicks, choosing my paint and clicking render, I'm now going to have 15 images. I can choose the gray paint as well. I'll send that to render. And here we have them. They've just come through. I can check them individually and download them individually, or I can download them as a zip file when I'm using the front end. Okay. And also what that means is once I've saved them as a pack, they can also be requested via the API. So your developers could set up a script that basically requests at a certain stage if a customer looks on my website and saves a vehicle on this page, request all of these images, and we can send them in a CRM email or an after sales email, for example. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what's available in terms of image generation. You can spend hours tweaking the look, but hopefully that gives you an example of what's available. I'm now going to move on to video. So what I'm going to do here is let's take another example use case. I want to create a video for a dealership. I want a video for my dealerships to play on the screens within the physical site. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a video sequence using the Take application. I'm going to build several different camera movements. I'm going to save it and I'm going to publish it. Okay, so let's take a look at that now. So again, I've come into the platform, I've chosen the application. This looks very familiar, but the difference with this app is I'm creating a video sequence, and I do that by using keyframes. And if you're not familiar with using video editing platforms or software, basically what I'm doing is I'm telling the platform I want to move a camera. I'm telling you where I want the camera to start and where I want the camera to finish. So let's just create a movement where we zoom into the front of the car. So I've set one keyframe there and one there. That was pretty quick. I'm going to slow it down a little bit, maybe make it 5 seconds, and we can slow that movement down. And essentially I have a sequence there ready for video. It's not very good. I've done that quite quickly, so let me spend a little bit more time on it. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to create maybe 2 clips just to show you how that would work. I'm going to take a saved camera. So I have some saved cameras here on the left. It's just a camera position that I like. And what I want to do is create a camera path where I'm moving just slightly across to the right. And then I want to move to a different part of the exterior. So I'm going to come back to my saved cameras, choose this camera position here that I like, and do the same again, just a short pan across to the side. And then we can add some effects to enhance the look as well. So I've got my 2 camera movements. I'm just going to make a cut here, so we've got a nice clean cut between the 2 of them. Then we can review and see if that has worked. So camera movement 1, camera movement 2. Okay, that's looking okay. But painting the white studio looks a little bit flat. So let's move back to a real world environment. Let's move to New York. Yes, that looks quite good. And now I've chosen my environment. What I would like to do is add some render effects, some post-processing. And again, I could do this in another platform. I could do it in After Effects, for example. But the platform here does allow me to manipulate some of the render effects as well. So I'll just do what I did before with my still image. I'll add ray tracing. So I'm going to activate ray traced reflections, some ray traced shadows. Again, just small details, but starting to have an effect. And I'm going to add depth of field. So I'm going to blur the back of the environment so the focus is just on the car. That's looking okay. If I just go back and play that through, see how that looks now. Okay, that's looking good. So that's taken me about 2.5 minutes to create that. I won't show you the full sequence. I've already built the full sequence, so I've added a few more camera passes here. So this is one I've already created, but that basically took me about half an hour to create this full sequence. So those original camera movements we've got, but then also looking at different elements of the car from the exterior, moving to the interior. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. And what I can do now is publish it. So that sequence is now saved. Now, other users can access it here on this application, and they can select this template to be used with different configurations. It could also be used with different models should they wish. But basically, it means I've saved it, it's here, I don't have to go through those steps again, and I could keep adding more and more sequences on and basically build up a library of different video templates for me to use. So I'm going to render that out now. And then when we look in the order history, we've got it just here. And this is the final file that now as an agency, I'm going to distribute to the dealers so they can use it in site. Okay. So again, what have I just shown you? We have shown you how to use the Take application to create your own video sequence, how you can control the camera, literally position the camera anywhere that you like. You can add different environments, different post-processing options, and how within maybe half an hour or to an hour, you can create a sequence that can then be used time and time again. And it can be used it can lead towards personalization. I can use that template on various configurations. Okay. So I hope that makes sense, what we've shown you so far with images and video. The last example I'm going to show you is how to create AR models. So it seems quite popular in the poll. Essentially what this application is going to do, the AR model, is it takes the master model that we've been given that is of a huge file size and consists of many millions of polygons, and it cuts that digital model down into a file size that is small enough for us to be able to share via social media. So example use case, let's say a customer has looked on the website and saved a configuration, and we want to entice them. We want to capitalize on that sale. So we're going to send them an AR model of the configuration they were looking at. So we'll move into this demonstration. This is quite a nice quick one as well. So again, this is the application. I can choose the configuration I want, the paint color, the rims. And on the right hand side here, I have different render effects that are available to me. So I can basically do things to manipulate the file size and the quality. I can drive that file size up, drive it down. There's a lot of different options here I can manipulate, or I can use default settings. We have different file types, so GLTF and USDZ for Android and for iOS. But essentially, I click generate, and that's going to give me an AR model, which can now be shared on social media. So let's see what that looks like if I download the file here and we send it out to the user. So they've now received it on their phone and they can position it in their office, in their house, on their driveway, whilst they're either waiting for that car or they've been considering that car. They can share it with their friends and family. Okay, so that app, nice and simple, nice and quick. Basically, it's taking a process that used to take teams of artists several days and a lot of money to reduce that file size, and this app basically automates all of that work for you now and can render it out in a matter of minutes, depending on the file size and the settings you use. So let's recap. What have I just covered? I've shown you a way that users can log into the platform via the front end, and they can manipulate the UI. So they can choose a model, they can manipulate the lighting to get a look and feel that they're happy with. They can save that they can come back and use time and time again to speed up content creation. They can also save them, and when they're saved, they're also callable. They're also requestable via the API. One point I do want to convey, though, is all of the assets that we're showing you here, there is no one place for these assets to be deployed, and I'm sure that's clear to many, but basically these assets can be used in multiple points of the customer journey. So if you look at an example customer journey here, we have the discover phase where you will have programmatic advertising and social media, and by using the API of the platform, you can start to create images at scale or content at scale that can be used for these use cases. You've then got someone's interest, you've targeted them on social media, they've now come to your website and they're considering making a purchase. So your website content can be provided via the API. A user, let's take an example here, a user has gone through a configuration and saved their configuration. You could target them with a personalized digital brochure. And basically what this is a microsite. So I'll show you what this looks like now. This is an example that's live with many different OEMs, but basically it's a microsite that can be sent to a customer. At any stage, it can be done in the dealership, it can be done via a configurator on your website, but it contains many different elements that have been created on the Spotlight platform. So we have interactive elements here, we've got a turntable, we have an interior that you can jump into and scroll around, and this is all generated by the platform. And with each customer that we have or each client that we have, we determine a design, obviously, to make them specific to that OEM. The OEM determines what video files they would like, what they want the images to look like, but this can then be personalized. So it's set up as a template and they can be used time and time again, automatically. The point I'd like to really make here is these are not being created manually by somebody logging in and doing what I've shown you before. All of that work has already been done and saved. And now every time somebody looks at a different configuration, one of these is generating and it can be sent out to the customer. So what you're seeing here are assets that are personalized, that are created at scale, and that are created automatically. And also content that is live. Okay, so these are live. You can go on VW UK's website, for example. Mitsubishi, Lucid Motors, Cadillac all have these live and are seeing great returns. Okay, so that's the consider phase. If you move through to sale, so they've seen the personalized digital brochure, of course they're going to purchase the car. Why wouldn't they? So they're going to come through, they're going to buy the car. You want to send them an email confirming that purchase. You can sell them personalized content in that email. You can send them images or a video of their actual car. With that after sales process, which we know is so important, so someone's purchased the car, but there's maybe a 2-week, 3-week, 2-month wait period for the car to actually be built and delivered, you need to keep them engaged. So you could send personalized content at different stages in that period. So you could send them a personalized AR model saying that your car has been built. Your car is just leaving the factory now. This is what it looks like, and send an AR model through. And then right through to when they're an actual full-blown owner, if you want to upsell accessories, for example, you could send them a roof rack, a bike rack, but show them it on the car that they've purchased, either in a video or with images, which leads obviously to better customer retention. So I hope that makes sense. It's a lot of information, I know, for us to cover, but the platform does do a lot. But basically, the API essentially means that we can start to automate this for you. I'm going to finish up now just with a few customer testimonials. So I mentioned that I work predominantly on the VW account. I've helped them roll this product out to many, many different markets. The UK market were one of the first on board. They've seen significantly reduced costs, and with the digital brochures as well, they see it as their biggest lead generator for new cars on their website. Dentsu agency, really impressed with the realism of the platform, and VinFast, for example, along here, found it surprisingly simple to use, so ease of use. But yeah, I realized that I've shown you a lot. I've spoken a lot about personalization, automation. I've said the words API probably about 19 times, but the key points I really wanted to get across, as I mentioned, was you can easily create engaging content with this platform. You can improve the speed of delivery, you can save things, you can automate things. It really is quite quick to generate content. You don't have to have long wait times. And it can reduce your costs, both financially and in terms of time as well. If you're new to ZeroLight, you haven't spoken with us before, please reach out and get in touch. And likewise, if you're a current customer or a past customer and you want to know more about the platform and how it can work better, please do get in touch. You can contact me via email for a one-to-one. I'm happy to talk through this in more detail, or I can set up a free trial for you. You can find out more about the platform on our website, and do feel free to reach out and connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to speak with you. Also, if you have found the session useful today, please help spread the word. Please share feedback on LinkedIn. It's really, really helpful. And then finally, the next webinar in the series will be examining that elusive API I've been mentioning in more detail. So we will look at, again, how you can create these assets, but then how you can start to request them at scale, in particularly with an API, how we can start to automate this. So please invite your design teams, invite your developers. You can scan this QR code, or you can sign up to this module that you should see on your screens now. But all that's left for me to say is thank you very much for your time. I hope you found it useful, and we hope to see you again soon. But thank you very much. Goodbye.